Hi, everybody. Welcome into another edition of the live Epstein Hitting podcast. How's the camera over there? Should I
I
just
got
introduce you
excited. I hit the
now?
computer. Man, you just woke
You
me
did
up.
that last week too. You hit
I,
the
I
computer
think
last
so.
week, and I was, anyway. All right, welcome in. Hello, everybody. Great start to episode 136. Our topic today, managing expectations. And this is a good topic because we're underway in the Major League Baseball season when this episode does come out on Monday at 9 a.m. Like every new episode, Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The first weekend of Major League Baseball will be completed. So here we are, managing expectations, episode 136. And there's some things about managing expectations I've written down that we need to discuss because I don't know, there's certain oddities about this topic that I find very interesting, and I think that we can break it down and relate it to hitting here today. All right, so let me bring in professional evaluator, successful business owner, my former coach, friend and co-host. He's got the camera steady now. Jacob.
We'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah. Hello, Jacob. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing quite well this morning.
Did
Excited.
anybody ever call you Jacob growing up, by the way?
No.
No. You know how many times I've gotten the question, hey, has anybody ever called you like what they call you growing up, like Jimmy, James? I'm like, just call me fucking Jim. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter what I was called growing up. Just call me Jim now.
Yeah.
I've gotten that so many times. Do you go by Jimmy? Oh, that's so cute. Jimmy. No, just Jim's fine.
Yeah.
Jim's fine.
Keep it simple.
My middle name's Anthony.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, no, I had my nickname I guess was when I was a young player, it was Bull because I was like a bull in a china shop. Somebody said that once, and then it stuck.
That's funny. I called my sister that a couple of weekends ago.
Yeah, so that one stuck for quite a while, probably all the way through high school. And then I got to college, and it went away. But yeah.
All right, topic today. Episode 136, please subscribe to the podcast. Leave a review. If you leave a review on the first part of this episode, I'm sure that it won't be too positive, but that's okay. I always tell Jake, stay to the camera. All right, stay to the camera.
Yeah. It was like 2 seconds into the show. I already.
Hi, everybody. Boom. The camera goes fucking flying. Episode 136 today, managing expectations. So subscribe to the podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and listen and watch on YouTube, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast YouTube page. All right, we've got some great topics, by the way, coming up this year. We're going to be talking more about facing an ace. We're going to be putting together more plans about facing an ace at the major league level. I think we've got Max Scherzer coming up. Let me think who else. Zach Wheeler, who got hit around pretty bad on Saturday against the Rangers, pitching for the Phillies, but we'll be doing that. And another topic that I find very interesting, Jake, we'll be doing later on this year, 25 years of coaching, 25 lessons. So you're going to give me, out of your 25 years of coaching, or actually 25 plus, I'm probably shortchanging you there.
No, you aren't. It's 20. I'm not that old yet. I mean, I am old.
But you've been doing this, for a long time.
I've been doing this since 2003, so 19 years.
Okay. So 20. Okay, we'll do 20 years.
20 years. Yeah.
20 years of coaching, 20 years of lessons. So 20 lessons that you learned from coaching. And we're going to be doing that later in the year as well. So we've got some good topics coming up today, of course. In a couple of weeks too. Batter's box subtleties. What does that mean? We'll explain in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about it because there are some subtleties that can put you ahead as a hitter that you need to do in the batter's box. But today, episode 136, managing expectations, that's our topic. And I do want to talk about something, watching a lot of Major League Baseball over this past weekend. I'll give MLB.TV this. They are very expensive. MLB.TV, it's a very expensive thing, streaming thing. By the way, I do want to say this too. To all of you cord cutters out there, I said this a year ago. I said all of these bundles, and you with your daughters, you probably know what I'm talking about here. All of these bundles, the Netflix, the Hulus, all these networks that say you can get this, Paramount Plus, for example, right, or NBC Plus, or what's called Peacock, not NBC Plus. All of these bundles are costing you money that you would pay for regular cable. That's why I'm not a cord cutter. I understand why people are doing it, but I don't understand it anymore because there's so many bundles out there. But I do have MLB.TV. I do have that. And YouTube TV, by the way, they just up their price. So why don't you just stick with regular cable? But I have MLB.TV because I can watch like 5 games at one time. Literally, you can watch there's like 5 games, like the Octo Box on NFL Red Zone. And so I'm watching Major League Baseball, a lot of games, and I'm watching Bo Bichette, and I've watched him throughout spring training, Jake, and I want to get your opinion on this. And the one thing I've noticed about, and I tweeted this at Jim Tara a couple of days ago in regards to Bo Bichette, I said he had Bryce Harper body evolution. What does that mean? When Bryce Harper first came up, if you remember, in 2012, and this is not just Bryce Harper, Manny Machado. I don't think Mike Trout was ever like this. He was just kind of always a bull. You talk about, bull in a china shop, your nickname
Yeah.
bull. Mike Trout always kind of looked like a bull.
Yeah.
His body evolution, he didn't really, I don't know, his body must have matured by like age 13. But with Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, a lot of these players that come up when they're 19, 20, 21, 22 years old and they're drafted out of high school and they're high prospects, a lot of times their bodies haven't fully matured. College hitters, their bodies have matured at that point because they're drafted when they're 21, 22. Mm-hmm. But I look at Bo now, and I've watched his 2 hits this year that he's had. 2 hits. I haven't watched every at bat, but I've watched 2 hits that he's had this year. Both times he's been jammed. Both times he's muscled it out into the outfield, into center and into right center. A couple of years ago, he wouldn't have done that. And when I compare it to Bryce Harper, because his first few years in the league, Bryce, he had that athleticism. He had the ability, the hitting ability, obviously. He had the tools, but he didn't know how to completely use his body yet that could put him ahead of his competition. And then in 2015, he came back after that offseason. Do you remember this? There's a picture of him when he was just jacked, and you knew that he was going to have a big year, and he went on to win the MVP. Now, Bo doesn't have the same body composition. Bo has great body composition. I believe that he's got the body to play Major League Baseball and to be a guy who's going to be out there almost every day. He's not going to get hurt. But I don't see him getting too much stronger. I don't see him getting too much bigger because his body evolution is almost complete at this point. Where in a couple of years ago, it wasn't like that. Now, how does that relate to hitting? Okay, I'm going to stop rambling and let you comment on this in a second. How does that relate to hitting? That you have that body awareness and you understand as a major league player like Bo, you understand now what your body can do. It slows the game down for you mentally. So your body is kind of an inverted effect here. Your body is allowing your mind to slow down mentally because your body has reached that full evolution, especially at the plate. And I see that right now with Bo Bichette. So I want to just get your opinion on that, Jake, because obviously you scouting hitters, you working with hitters, you probably see this all the time. That age window between 19 and 22, when your body evolution is taking place, you don't know what your body is truly capable yet of at the plate.
Yeah, and that's why, first rounders are easy picks, right? Because they're Mike Trout. Mike Trout did look like he was a man when he was 16. And he was almost a man probably when he was 13 or 14. And you see that with some of the high international players that are signed. Not all of them. Who's the guy that the Padres signed is, looks like a kid.
Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, he's still a kid and he looks like a kid, but he just doesn't move like a kid. Right. And that's where scouting is a little bit different. I think there's 2 evolutions that you spoke about. I think there's one in that 12 to 15 year window for the majority of people out there. The majority of people aren't going to be big leaguers, but the majority of the people will play baseball. And I think if we talk about a little bit, there's an 8th grade. I worked with 2 8th graders the other day. And they were actually both had good size. One's probably 100 and he's probably 5'9", 150 pounds. And the other one's 6'4" and 190 pounds in 8th grade. And he is a monster. He is big and he's strong and he's athletic. But I've been working with him for 2 years. And so I've seen that evolution of, oh my gosh, this guy can't even walk into a room without stumbling. His feet are too big. His arms are too long. And so we don't have control over our body. And that's a big part. We don't see it as much with girls unless they grow really, really fast all of a sudden. But with boys, they have this stage where they're growing and they're getting stronger. And you're absolutely right when we talk about having control of your body in the batter's box. Can we stride and hold our balance? Can we stride without jumping? Can we stride and be relaxed? And they go through these, these issues of I just can't control what my body's doing right now. So long story short, with the big beast of an 8th grader who might be the strongest 8th grader in the state of Colorado, we dialed everything down. I took away a lot of stuff the other day, just as we were just kind of working on a couple different things, his swing direction and path to make sure he's just so strong and he can pull anything and his arms are long. And all of a sudden, it looked like he was swinging at 80%, and he was hitting the ball like 1 to 2 miles an hour less than when he swings all out. But his barrel percentage went up by like almost double, right? Almost 100% increase in that. So we have to kind of understand what players are doing. Now, getting back, sorry, I kind of got off on the younger players, but getting back to older players like Bichette, strength equals confidence. When you put time in the weight room and you feel good and you feel strong and the bat feels lighter in your hands because of whatever reason, sometimes it's as silly as, doing forearm exercises, and your hands feel stronger and you grab that bat, or, you've just been busting it and you feel good. And all of a sudden you step in the box and you're like, you know what? I'm strong. I feel strong. Like you said, I can wait a split second longer. Maybe my swing, my time to contact is 0.15 seconds instead of 0.16 seconds. That's big. Buddy of mine who I just followed his name's Greg Jacobs, and he played pro ball for a long time, but he was at Fullerton before me. The year before me, he left, and then I followed him into the Angels organization. Left-handed hitter. It's kind of a two-way guy. But he posted a picture of Giancarlo Stanton's bat, and it's 35.5 inches. It had the sticker, his game, and it had the size on it. That's a big man swinging a big bat. And when you can do that, the density and the momentum of a bat that big. Now, he could swing a 31-ounce bat and a 33-inch 31-ounce bat a lot faster. But with him, he would probably pull off because he's so strong. So having that extra strength, using your body correctly, allows you to swing a bigger bat, which may allow your body to control it more, so we're not over swinging. And then obviously the heavier the bat that you can swing, the more the ball's going to jump off of it, and the less it's going to break. I remember people saying, the old timers, they didn't break as many bats, maybe they didn't swing as hard or whatever. It's because all the bats were like 34 ounces. So, their bat speed wasn't as good as guys today, but they were hitting balls farther because the bat was bigger. So when you can have somebody like Stanton or Judge that can swing a big, heavy bat and they can swing it efficiently, it's pretty vicious. And that all comes down to, what you were saying is strength and maybe filling into your body. And it most definitely does take a little bit longer with the high school guys for sure. Because college guys, you get to college. Sorry, Jim.
No,
cut you off there. But you get to college, boom, it is weight room and it is food and it is nutrition and it is like they are on it, especially if you go to a Power 5 school where they have the money to invest in nutrition and you have your own strength coach and whatnot. But that's why those guys get so much bigger in college. In the minor leagues, it's not as much of that because they play 140 games. So a lot of that filling out has to be done in the off season.
We've talked on this show a lot about, I don't know about a lot, maybe not as much, but we've mentioned it before about why do major league hitters, why do they hit for more power when they get to the major leagues rather than when they're in the minor leagues? Yeah. Well, the same principle or the same question could be applied with the same principle. Why do major league players always look bigger or their body composition grows when they get to the major league level as compared to when they're in the minor leagues? It's because they go through that body evolution between ages, that second body evolution, as you mentioned, between ages 19 and 22. They get bigger, they get stronger, they care more about their nutrition. They care more about their flexibility, their mobility, things like that. Anything they can do to take care of their body, they do it. And then they let the natural course of their body, their genes at that point take over. And a lot of times that's not a lot of times. That's almost every player I've seen who's played in the minor leagues, who has gotten to the major leagues. They've had that body evolution. Machado's body when he was 26 was different from when he was in the minor leagues when at age 19 or 20. And this principle applies to Bo Bichette. Also, too, another thing with hitters, you mentioned, them being allowed to wait longer. And is that a fundamental? I don't know. I don't know. But I'll say this, with hitters being able to wait longer and slowing the game down, that comes because their bodies, they've grown into their bodies and their bodies have reached that point of evolution where they can be successful.
Yeah. And they're comfortable. They're comfortable in that body. We don't want to overlook the fact of money. Because you don't make any money in the minor leagues. We can talk about that. They just got a huge bump. They're almost doubling salaries in the minor leagues. But in the minor leagues, you don't really have any money. Obviously, the first couple rounders have a stash from their bonus, but everybody else doesn't have money, and they're not fed very well. They're not fed great.
Right.
And like I said, there's not a lot of time for extra work. I mean, you can go in and get your morning lift in, but a lot of times you don't have an extra $20-$25 a day to invest in proper nutrition
Yeah.
to get the most out of that workout. And all of a sudden they get to the big leagues, and now the minimum is, you know, I don't know what the minimum is now, 575 or whatever the league minimum is, and they were making, you know, maybe $17,000 the year before. Well, that you know, is a big luxury, especially in the off season where you don't have to work all the time. Now all of a sudden you can just invest in yourself, and I think players are doing just that. You know, once they get that call up or that 40 man roster invite.
Yeah. Well, anyway, any questions about that body evolution? Any questions about, you know, Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero, Manny Machado, all guys that should be used in hashtags
And
as keyword?
we
Email
should
us.
also say that major league uniforms are custom fit. That's why they look better in major league uniforms.
Yeah, but okay, but you know, I mean, you know, you got Jake Fat, the fashion expert here. They're
Oh
custom made.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're taking measurements. They're taking measurements for spring training, man. They don't do that in the minor leagues.
All right, that's fair, but
High def. Now everything's high def now.
that's true too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice.
Everything's high def on that streaming service that you have, that 8th streaming service that you're paying for. Episode 136, Managing Expectations. Any questions, email us, jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. Follow us on social media at Jim Tara, at Epstein Hitting. All right, you ready to get into today's topic? Managing expectations when you're a hitter. Managing expectations, that's the topic, but managing expectations as a hitter. Okay, I got a couple of quotes here. May I read it? By the way, I got this topic. I want to give credit to the place I got this topic from. I got this topic from the book, The Mental Game of Baseball by H.A. Dorfman. So, Dorfman. H.A. Dorfman. And Carl Kuhl as well. They wrote. Did you ever hear about that book? The
Oh, I
Mental
read
Game of
that book
Baseball?
years ago. Yeah,
Yeah.
a couple times. My dad gave me that book.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've read that book as well. And I have that book along with another book about coaching that has all of these like future topic examples for later on. So that should get us to episode 600. But I have a lot of I have a lot of good future topics, as I mentioned earlier, and this is one of them today. To kind of taking a break from specific hitting and fundamentals and mechanics and the mental side of hitting, and talking more about the mental side of baseball as it pertains to hitting here. And again, managing expectations. Thank you to H.A. Dorfman and Carl Kuhl for giving us this topic today. I've got two quotes here I want to read to you, though. All right, here we go. First quote. I'll say it's from Anonymous because I don't know who I got it from. You can make anything happen if you put your mind to it. And if you put your mind to anything, you can achieve it. Is there anybody, by the way, in the room with you right now?
No.
Okay. And I ask this because I want to say to these quotes, they are complete and utter bullshit. You know why they're bullshit, Jake, when it comes to hitting baseball? They sound good, but you know why? If you expect yourself, if you go into a season expecting yourself to hit 400, you're not going to do it. If you go into the season with a goal saying, I'm going to hit 500, you're not going to do it. It's impossible. Game's too hard. So that's where this topic comes into play today. Managing your goals and managing your proper expectations to get the most out of your 2023, 2024, 2025, 2026, et cetera, season. That's where this topic comes from today. So ignore the quotes of saying, I'm putting my mind to it. I can make it happen. No, you can't. You can't make it happen. It's the wrong mindset. You can't make it happen because it's the wrong mindset. Managing your expectations, managing your goals.
Well, I think the key to that is managing. You know, the word managing. It's not just saying, well, you know what? I think I would like to hit, 9 home runs my high school season this year, and I'd want to hit 500. Where are we pulling that out from? So, figuring out what is attainable and what is better than what I did last year. Where do I need to be maybe I would like to drive in more runs. Okay, well, we didn't say I need to drive in 100 runs. I need to drive in more runs than I drove in last year. Okay, I need to be a little bit smarter with runners in scoring position. I need to be a little bit better with my my plan when I go to the plate when there's runners on second, or if there's a runner on first base, and whatever the situation dictates. Maybe I let that runner at first base try to steal second base. Maybe I give him a pitch or two to do that because he's got pretty good wheels. So a lot goes into that. But yes, putting external pressure on yourself is pretty much the worst thing you could do as a hitter. Going in there and saying, I have to, right? I have to do this. And then, oh, crap, I'm 0 for 2 to start the year. Oh, now I have to get 4 hits in my next 6 at-bats in order to get back. Oh, gosh, I made an out again. Now I'm 0 for 3. And then everything kind of snowballs from there. So baseball is a game, and we've heard this before, and it seems trivial, but it is. It's one game at a time. It's one inning at a time. It's one at bat at a time. It's one pitch at a time. And if you stick to that, if you have an overall goal of, you know what, I'm going to work harder this year, right? I'm going to see more pitches. Okay, that's good. Or, you know what, I'm going to be more aggressive early in the count. I'm not going to give away strikes. Whatever you need to work on. Some people that I coach, in fact, there's a player, a college player I work with, and I have for a long time, and he started the year and he was pretty good. Like, I turned on the TV, I'm like, wow, he's swinging at 0-0 curveballs, but it was a hanger, and he got a good swing at it. He fouled it off, but he got a good swing at it, like he looks comfortable in the box. And then a couple weeks later, he's not hitting the ball very well, and I'm watching games, and he's like taking strike 1, fastball down the middle. Where even if you foul it off or you swing through it, it's like, okay, I feel good. I took a good swing at that. And he's a guy that has to swing early in the count because with 2 strikes, he's not great. Okay. Versus players that, you know what, I have my own kids really good with 2 strikes. So I'm fine with her working the count a little bit more. So know who you are, as a player. Say, I want to work more walks. I want to increase my on-base percentage. Well, are you that kind of player that can see a lot of pitches and get deep in counts? If you're not, then that's not going to work. So mentally, expectations, it's typically pressure you're putting on yourselves or other people. When I was at Mizzou, other people's expectations were you're going to finish absolutely last in the SEC. And we said, thank you very much. And we printed it out and we put it in our dugout before every single game.
And we started chanting "Mean Machine."
It's like, okay, that's what people think of us because we have the
That movie was on, by the way, the other night. That's why I had to bring it up. That movie
Yeah.
was on the other night. That's why I had to bring it up.
Okay, that's good. But
anyway, go ahead.
It's other people's expectations. They're not in the locker room. They don't know what you are. They don't know what you feel like and what you go through. They just look at, okay, your facilities are the worst in the SEC and your budget is the smallest. And you guys are real scrappy, but we think you're going to finish last. And every year they're picked to finish last, and every year they don't. It's just kind of the way it is. So those expectations are different. But on the other end, if you're, say, Tennessee this year, and it's like, okay, expectations are high, right? You guys are expected to blow everybody out, in the SEC, and then opening weekend they get swept by Missouri, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whoa, like, where did that come from? And that's the pressure. I was part of my high school team. We were ranked #1 in the country. And back then there was no social media or anything, but there was Collegiate Baseball News, and it ranked us #1 in the country. And holy cow, we had new uniforms and, all kinds of stuff. We went out and lost our first game. We ditched the new uniforms and went back to the gross, ugly T-shirts that helped us win the year before. So external expectations, you got to just take that with a grain of salt. It doesn't matter. It's kind of like the whole preseason All-American. Really?
I was going to say, too, I mean, there's those external expectations. That's the point of today's episode as well, managing those external expectations. Yeah. Your team is expected to do this, or you're a preseason All-American, and you're expected to do this. And analytical departments or analytical interns in college programs are saying that you're projected to hit this. And those are added pressures as well with those external expectations that you also have to manage as a player.
Yeah. I have a couple players this year in college that are potential first rounders. Man, that's, they've been great players every single year working their way up. And all of a sudden they see that and it's like, whoa, now I have an agent. Now I have to make sure that I don't let everybody down, and I got to hit 320 this year, and I got to do this and not make any errors. And it's just, you put that extra pressure on yourself, and it just doesn't work in this game. So I guess getting back to basics with this is take the external stuff if you can and flush it down the toilet. Okay. Like, whether it's good external or bad, whether you're Missouri and they say, you guys stink, whatever, or you're Tennessee and they say, you're going to win everything and they put that pressure on you, whatever. Okay. You go into the season doing what you do, sticking with your strengths. And probably most importantly, attainable goals. I want to maybe not hit this or hit that, but it's, you know what? I'm going to dedicate 5 minutes a day to relaxation and visualization. I'm going to spend 10 minutes a day doing my mechanical drills before practice. I'm going to spend X amount of time making sure my homework's done, from 9 to 10 p.m. I'm making sure that that's study time only. Whatever it is, you have to be deliberate with your goals and your schedule in order to attain them. If you just throw it out there and say, I want to do this or I want to do that, that's not a goal. Those aren't realistic expectations. You really have to plan it out and you really have to write it out. And I would suggest not writing it on a computer, but writing it out with a pen and a piece of paper of what you want to accomplish this year. And then how do you go about accomplishing those goals that you set for yourself? Okay.
I was just going to ask how to develop proper goals that you can get yourself into that flow state, right? That's what they talk about in the mental game of baseball, getting yourself mentally into that flow state where everything's just easy. How do you develop those proper goals and manage those expectations for yourself to get you quicker into that flow state?
Confidence and sticking to the routine that you set for yourself. So as I was kind of mentioning, maybe there's a relaxation time, before you head to the ballpark. It doesn't need to be a very long time, but where you relax and you get into that and then you stick to that routine. So every day, you're going to play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're going to play probably a Tuesday midweek. You're going to have practice. You're going to have this, Mondays are going to typically be your off day after travel. So being organized with your time and managing your time correctly is really the best way to do it. And staying within that routine where it's like, oh, I got a game today, but I didn't do this or I didn't do that, or I slept in too long. And now all of a sudden I can't do my visualization or relaxation. I can't get my tee work done or my mechanical stuff done. And all of a sudden I'm rushing into the batter's box. Okay. That's like the worst thing that could happen. So trusting the routine that you've made for yourself is going to be the best way to get into that flow or that confident feeling when you get into the batter's box.
All right. Very good. I think we pretty much covered everything today. Quick topic, managing expectations. By the way, I just want to say this too. There are expectations that you can have outside of baseball or outside of playing within the lines, like, getting stronger in the weight room and setting realistic goals in the weight room that could help your performance on the field, or setting a nutritional goal for yourself. Things like that are certainly a lot easier goals wise and managing those expectations than the ones that are within the white lines where there's so many external factors that are just out of your control.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, saying, look, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle, or I need to drop, 10 pounds of extra weight that I'm carrying that I shouldn't carry. That's, you can chart that, that's black and white. You get on the scale and, or I want to increase my, squat by, whatever, 5%, or my deadlift. You can chart that. Oh, in 4 weeks I did this and that. But again, that's all confidence, right? Look at what I did. Look at what I did in the weight room. Man, I feel great. Now we go take a ball and we're taking batting practice, maybe with a hit tracks or Repsodo or TrackMan or whatever you want to use. And all of a sudden, instead of you topping out at, we'll say a high school player, we're topping out at 95 miles an hour. Now all of a sudden we're at like 98. Man, I put in the work here. Check that off. I put in the work with nutrition. Check that off. Now look at those results. I'm saying I'm hitting the ball harder. I'm hitting the ball farther. Now, all of a sudden, there's your flow, right? I'm feeling pretty darn good about myself. Let's get this season going.
Yeah. And a reminder, too, that sometimes you expect things when, and this goes for players in colder climates, the Northeast climate, even in Colorado as well. When you're in the off season and you're working out in the cage, maybe you're seeing live pitching in the cage against pitchers that you may face out on the field. You may do good, you may do bad, and you're able to gain some expectation from how your season might go based off that. And this goes for data as well. it's kind of a smokescreen. It doesn't exactly tell you the whole story because there's a lot of other factors that are involved. So players have to be careful going down that rabbit hole too, of managing their expectations based off previous results within a batting cage and within certain data points that they may have hit in the batting cage that doesn't translate on the field yet.
That's exactly right. You know, it only matters what you do on the field.
That's right.
It really does. Like, I don't care how good you look in a cage. I mean, I do, because I want you to be confident and I want you to work on the right stuff. But, you know, guys that go to a showcase and hit a ball off a tee 100 miles an hour, I'm really happy for you. I could probably take some football players at any Division I program. In fact, I'm going to tell you a story.
Oh, I like stories.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a story of a quarterback. I was working with, I'm sure, you could say his name anyway. Allie Shipman, who's the catcher at University of Alabama now. She's the new catcher. Great athlete, great player, great hitter. So anyway, she was out in Colorado, and her friend plays football at CU. So he rolled in to like watch us do.
So he's playing for Neon Dion.
Yes, I don't know if he still is. This was last summer, and I know Dion's shuffled everything up. But this dude rolls in, and super nice guy, right? Like, into it, and he's a football player. Like, he doesn't play baseball. I was like, when was the last time you played baseball? He's like, I played baseball in high school. I don't know, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever was my last year playing baseball. I was like, let me throw you some. And not a huge, massive guy. Anyway, I throw him softballs because that's what I was throwing Allie. And he hits the softball like 96 miles an hour in front toss. Never seen that number in my life.
Pretty good exit velocity, yeah.
With a softball, I mean, there might be a couple softball players in the country that can hit a softball 90 miles an hour, okay, 90, 91. And that's with a college ball that has a higher compression than the balls I was using, which were BP balls. And he hit a ton of them. And I'm like, are you kidding me? But here's a guy that's super athletic, big and strong, creates a lot of bat speed. If we put him in a game, he would have no chance of hitting a ball. Okay. And that's why it's so important that we perform in games, right? We practice, but what you do in practice isn't going to get you to have success in the game. You have to practice the right way. If you're in the cage and you're trying to practice at 110% and hit balls as hard as you possibly can and hit them as far as you possibly can off of regular BP and not a machine throwing, 85 to 95, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Okay. Like, it's going to hurt you, and you're going to get exposed once you get into the batter's box in a game. So make sure you're training the right way. That's the best thing I can tell you.
That's a great way to end today's show. Make sure you're training the right way.
Train the right way.
And it'll be a lot easier to then manage your expectations and set your goals.
For sure.
Right. All right. Very good. Cross functionality this week. Cassie, Riley, Bosha, and I, every Wednesday, new episodes 9 a.m. Find us, Softball Strength Academy YouTube page. Watch the show, Apple, Google, Spotify to listen, leave a review, and email us jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. You got anything else before we get out of here?
I do not, sir. I hope everyone has a wonderful week getting ready for the Easter weekend / Masters weekend.
You love the Masters.
I do love the Masters.
So did Jim Nance too. Jim Nance can't wait to get out of the Final Four and get out of the NCAA tournament and get to the Masters.
This is true. Saturday and Sunday afternoon, like the last 9 holes of the Masters is like probably my favorite TV of the year. It's about 2 hours, 2.5 hours of hopefully close competition with a lot of stress. Talk about guys managing expectations and trying to keep their blood pressure down. Back 9 at the Masters on Sunday is about as stressful as it gets.
Yeah, I'm not a big golfer. In fact, I've told this story before. I've broken 2 of my dad's clubs before when I've gone to the driving range, so I'm not a big golfer.
It just means you have extreme club head speed, Jim.
Does that have that means?
Yeah.
I have a baseball swing.
That's all right. You're moving that sucker too fast.
I know.
For what's in there.
I felt, you know, like when I broke these gloves years ago, I really felt like that thing was just whipping through.
It was, yeah. You just need a stronger shaft, Jim. No, I mean that's a true statement. That's
Yeah.
not a funny statement. It's a true
No,
statement.
it's
It
true.
sounded funny.
I
It
need a
sounded funny, but
stronger shaft.
yeah, you need an extra stiff shaft.
I need an extra stiff shaft.
Hmm. And then you won't break the clubs.
And I won't, gotcha.
Okay.
Episode 136, episode 137 coming up here. Batter's Box Subtleties. Thank you for watching and listening, everybody, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great week.